Mark Gideon with Set Up for Success. A couple days ago, I did a video with Rebecca Salmon on how do I choose what is best. And we were trying to figure out how to do the distance from the camera, from us, and the sound and things like that. So we ran through a complete video, and then we watched it and felt like, yeah, that's not as well as we would have liked to have done. And so turned around and re-recorded, and that's what we went ahead and published. So for today, this video that we're sharing are some clips from the first video that didn't feel like were really as well as we'd like to have done, but there's some pieces that we left out in the second video and some things that we said maybe a little better in the first video. So this is kind of like cuts from that first video. I think will be helpful. Look forward to having you become part of Set Up for Success. Hit subscribe. We will have a lot of material that will be helpful for leaders, for those who work with employees, or just setting yourself up for success.
It's helpful when you look at what is this activity and how am I going to deal with it. And as a Christian, I've added some things kind of to the side. In Philippians chapter 1, verse 10, it says to choose or approve what is best. In other words, put it to the test. There are things that you can do that would be all right to do, but they're just not really helpful. And as Christians, we're looking at things and saying, we're seeking first the kingdom of God, His righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. We're looking at life differently. We're also, as Scripture says, we walk circumspectly. We walk looking around, looking where we're going. Proverbs also, several different proverbs talk about that same thing. Consider our walk, consider our path, watch our steps, those kinds of things. So this fits well with, the Christian life to do that. And that's where we look at quadrant 2, is where your preparation happens. I love the analogy that he uses of a firefighter, because it really, really spoke to me. Because he says, what makes a good fire chief or a fireman? And, we immediately think about heroes, somebody who puts out fires. I mean, that's what you want. You want somebody who's strong, can carry you out of the building, somebody who can put out, fires fast and that type of thing. But what if there's a lot of fires? I mean, if there's fires all the time, then something's wrong. You have an arsonist out there doing something, and you need to involve the police and change that. Or you have problems with something else. Either people need to have lightning rods on their homes, or they need to have better wiring and those kinds of things. And so the best kind of fireman is somebody who actually is sitting, at the firehouse. That's where you want your firemen to be. You want them to be ready. You want them to be prepared. You want them to have everything, ready to go in an instant. But you want them to stay there, and that seems kind of counterintuitive. The same way in a business, if you have a lot of fires, if you have a lot of emergencies and people saving your business every day, somebody's a hero, or somebody's a hero a lot, or some manager's just saving, the company, every day. It seems like, wow, we've got this hero or these heroes, and you think that, it's great to have these people, when in reality, that may be a problem. If you have a lot of heroes, you have a problem in your business. You have, something that's coming up that you need rescued from. And again, having a manager that is relaxed and doing day-to-day things doesn't look very heroic. And when it comes time to promotion, you think like, well, what did she do? What did she do? You know, I mean, this person over here, they saved us a bunch, and this person over here is just calm, quiet, and actually, that calm, quiet person may be the better manager because they did the quadrant 2 activities. They looked at, where are the fires at? Where are they coming from? What can we put in place that keeps that fire from happening? Same way with a fire chief. Fire chief should be going to the schools and teaching stop, drop, and roll. He needs to teach kids not to play with matches. Needs to put out ads during the winter time about heaters and overplugging Christmas lights and those kinds of things. And then also going to the city and making sure that the code enforcers are, first of all, there's the right policies, the right people that aren't going to compromise and be paid off or whatever, that actually enforce the rules and make sure that, there's good procedures and practices so that houses don't burn. And so that's what this teaches me. It says, look at my life. What keeps coming up over and over and over again that just kind of doom my day and doom, life. And if I'm doing a lot of heroic things, then, something's wrong. If you don't manage the urgent, it tends to get, worse and worse and worse. It's, the brush fire becomes, burning down the whole, community. Quadrant 4, if you don't manage well quadrant 2, then a lot of things happen in quadrant 4. You come home, you're exhausted. You just want to sit down and just, and I think there's a difference in exhaustion. Jay Adams, who's a Christian counselor, I'm not sure that he's still alive, but he wrote a book a number of years ago called Competent to Counsel. And one of the things Adams wrote about is the passage where Jesus said, "Take my yoke upon you, learn of me," and talks about meekness. But in that talking about that passage, he talks about putting on a yoke with Jesus. You put something on, and you're going to work, and it's something that God has for you that will be, possibly difficult, hard. You're pulling, but you also have Jesus there pulling it with you. And he mentioned there's a difference in being exhausted because you've done your best, you've given it your all, and yet it is refreshing because you're doing it with the right values, the right mindset, the right focus, and right purpose in your life. So you've done something, but you come away feeling good about it. Where when you're putting out fires, there may be some, that it's good. I'm glad I put out the fires. But if you're putting out fires all the time, then there's that anxiety level. There's, just everything else is out of place, rather than just, dealing with, stepping back and saying, how do we manage this battle, this fire fight that we're in, and how do we, keep from, being here tomorrow doing the same thing, because we have people that are unaware about putting out campfires. So we have some. But a lot of times, people are just trying to avoid the work because they haven't stepped back and looked. Like, even in the right business. I remember doing 7 Habits, my first 7 Habits class, And one of the guys about a week later said, I'm in the wrong job. I don't like this job. I don't want to do this job, And he quit. And I'm thinking like, yeah, my boss is really gonna like this. Have a 7 habits class, and one of the accountants leaves. Now that was successful 7 habits, but it was.
Yeah.
A person in the wrong place is not where you want that person, And so, he was looking at his life, and it just, he was just unequally yoked in that position. Quadrant 3 and 4 is also a place where, because you're getting beaten up and you're not handling life well, and you haven't sat down and thought about, what is my life about? What's my purpose? What are my values? What am I working for, and how am I going to get there? If you're not doing those kinds of things, then I think you are more easily led into sin. You've got to guard your heart as well in these things, because I think a lot of people, when you talk about time wasting and things, then they deteriorating into doing things that are actually destructive in their life. So, for me, this is important as a Christian to look at. And as we talk about goals in other videos, I'm looking forward to kind of laying out groundwork. But I thought this is a great tool. And there's going to be fire's going to happen. Lightning is going to strike. Somebody's going to burn something on the stove, forget it's there, and have a fire in the kitchen, whatever. I mean, those kinds of things will happen. Also, want to mention too that if you're trying new things a lot, you're going to have failure, and you need to be willing to fall and to go through things and have those moments of crisis. But if all of those things eventually stabilize out, and if you're not, again, if you're in fire mode all the time, maybe you're taking on too much, or in the wrong way, or the wrong priorities. There's any number of things that we're going. Urgent isn't going to go away. It's not. Things happen in life, but if your life is constant urgent, unless you work in an ER or something, and even there, I think that there's you get used to it where you're not in panic mode. Somebody's been shot, whatever. You know what to do. You have the routines, blah blah blah. It's kind of like it's normal, day to day, type thing. That's what your life is. If you're in a call center, you learn your script. You go through that script. You have your charts, your flow charts, and different things along that line. This customer may be upset, but it doesn't upset you, because you recognize, that your job is to help that person solve a problem, and where you're going because you've gone through the process of and being prepared to do that. So that's also true.
Yeah, that makes me think of when I first started at the daycare I used to work at. I was with toddlers, and the first couple of days, like it felt like I was in an insane asylum. There's kids in the corner not screaming, but doing crazy things. There's just kids moving everywhere, and I'm going, I have no idea where to start. Like, everything feels urgent, and the kids sense it. So that was also not good. But as time went on, I started to realize, okay, these are the things that have to happen, and you kind of take through those things and learn how to manage them into those moments. And you realize, that there are truly urgent moments, like a kid is standing on the table. But even the way that I approached that in my first couple of weeks was, oh no, like, get the kid off the table. Whereas, later it's like, okay, you go over and you calmly remove the child from the table, and then they don't think that it's a game, so that's also helpful. Not that they feed off of your emotions, but but yeah, you learn how to balance the truly urgent moments from the things that feel urgent but can be handled a little more calmly, and and you put things in place so that the kid is not standing on the table. The kid is actively engaged in something that they want to be engaged in, so they're not spending their time climbing the walls because they're
You
bored.
work on the preventive things.
Exactly.
And how to get there. Yeah.
Right. So
That's good. I like that. I appreciate that.